That's right, folks. Here I am. This is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore, back on the corner. And tonight, we're going to talk about the Texas 53-man roster. And I'm not calling it the final 53 because there's nothing final until the last game is played. This roster, as it's now composed, will change. But I got some experts with me. Let me bring my man, Elwin Henderson, in, add him to the stage. E, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing great, and you?
I'm doing good, man. How's everything going up there in Gilman, East Texas, and everything?
Going great, man. Getting ready to get those Buckeyes rolling again Friday night.
Friday night. Okay. Tell you what, as I mentioned earlier, the NFL mandated mass exodus of players. The NFL, man. I mean, I don't know what to say, but there used to be you could have cut down dates. We've been around long enough. We used to remember when they used to do cut down dates in the integral parts. During the course of training camp. Now all of a sudden they just throw a whole bunch of folks out on the street, and like it's a free fall. So I mean, what can you say? It is what it is, man.
Yeah, I'm like you. I really liked it before. Can you just imagine, though? I mean, it was tough on those young men when we had 4 or 5 cut down dates. But now you go through all of OTAs, you go through all of training camp. People brought in 90 to 91 on every team, depending on whether they had the international or exception
right.
or not in training camp.
Right.
You go through all of that before you get cut. I mean, to me, it seems like that would hurt a whole lot more than getting cut early, because you might have a chance to go to training camp somewhere else where they weren't quite as deep at a position and make it at that training camp and make the initial final roster. So it just doesn't seem like, to me, it's fair to the players.
Well, we can look at, but here's the other thing. It tell you what, it tells you it's not your scouting staff, because you got to break up your scouting staff, the collegiate players that you're already out there looking at for next year, which they hadn't really, they've already sort of outlined. They put a board together for the players coming up for this year. Mm-hmm. Then you got the players, the players that they have to create a board out for just training camp and what potential players could be on that. And can you imagine what that board looks like now? Oh. And then, I mean, beside the coaches that have sat down and have been with these guys, as in the case of the Texans, since around about the 1st of July, and now here you are at August of 27, and you done established a report and everything, and I know D'Amico does not. This is probably one of the most brutalest things he has to do as a coach, as the head coach, is to sit there and because you ask these guys to believe in me, give me your heart, give me your soul, give me everything you got, and then you got to turn around and say, I'm sorry, you didn't make this team. But hopefully, and it's just like I was sort of mentioning the last couple of ball games during preseason. I said these players are hopefully they're putting good work on film, because the other people out there scouting and everybody's scouting, looking around, still looking for players. So that's why I said I don't even call this the final 53-man roster. By the time Kansas City and Baltimore kick off next Thursday, I guarantee you this roster will have been changed. In fact, we already know. Because when you're looking at this roster, there are 2 players on the injury list that are prepared to come off.
Right.
And then you still got a suspended player that Domenico Autry will start a 6-game suspension. So that's a position in flux. So and we still have not seen the practice squad, because you know how you go bounce back and forth off the practice squad. But anyway, let's get down to this deal. Oh, by the way, folks, if you have not subscribed to the AdMax Corner, please do so. And if not, also just hit that subscribe button where you're watching now, or if you're over on the Houston Roundball Review channel, go ahead, hit that button, and then jump back over on the other side. We've gotten over several thousand folks have already subscribed and listened to the on the Houston Roundball channel, but we're trying to play catch up to the Houston Roundball channel. Even though it's been ahead of us a little bit, we're grateful and able to be on the platform that they have afforded us this opportunity, and so that's where we are. All right, let's get started. Elvin, I know you've had a chance to sort of peruse it. Any surprises to you right off the bat?
Not really. I was expecting and tickled to death to see my former Gilmer Buckeye Chris Boyd make the roster.
Right.
And I felt certain that he would because he's grown. This is his 7th year in the NFL. And, of course, you sent that little video clip to me a week and a half or so ago where D'Amico was giving him some one-on-one time since he plays the same position D'Amico played when he was in the league with the Texans. And, when I saw that, I know D'Amico wants to help everybody. But with 91 players out there at training camp, if he gives you one-on-one time, he's confident you're going to be on the 53-man roster. And that tickled me to death to see that. And, of course, I was even more excited to find out that Chris's injury was just a bruised leg and nothing more serious.
Right. Well, all right, let's obviously quarterbacks. Okay. CJ Stroud, Davis Mills. Case Keenum is on the IR for right now. Yep. And I'm pretty sure that's going to go back and forth unless somebody comes snatches them off the IR. So the Texans are only going with 2 quarterbacks starting off the year with 2 quarterbacks going on the roster. And I think that's understandable because with the way things are right now, it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Running backs, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce. Now, for some people, that is a surprise. For me, it's not.
No, it really wasn't to me either.
Now, there was some speculation that Dameon might be gone, might be trade bait, and he still could very well be. But for right now, Dameon Pierce is on this roster. Dar Ogunbowale and Cam Akers, 4 running backs.
Yep.
And I think Cam Akers the last couple of weeks have definitely found the spot on the roster for himself. Wide receivers. Now, this is one of the areas where a lot of folks we thought, and in fact, Noah Brown didn't make it this time.
Right.
Robert Woods did make it, and Robert Woods going his 12th season, and he survived the cuts. But you got Stephon Diggs, Steven Sims made it. I mean, he can probably for a run back, for special team purposes.
Yep.
Nico Collins, Tank Dale. Obviously, that's the 3 we thought about. John Mechie, steady made, and a blessing for this young man he's come all the way back from cancer and fighting cancer. Now he's in fact he had scored his first touchdown in his NFL career this past week. So that's a good thing. Mechie is there, and Xavier Hutchinson, which a young kid, 2nd year, Iowa State, and basically he caught everything that was in his zip code, and some things, and some things that wasn't in his zip code, And I got a chance to do his last ball game, and I'm excited for the young man. I think, as he stated, hey, I think he's grown into this situation. I think Xavier Hutchinson, and I think down the line, he'll play dividends, or he'll be a good dividend chip for somebody. If somebody looking for some wide receivers to go down somewhere else, I think he not only can contribute here with the Texans, but I think he could be good trade if somebody decides to take that stab at him.
Yep.
Tight ends, obviously Dalton Schultz, Brevin Jordan. Jordan could, because they're only keeping 1 fullback. And so in this case, I think I think Brevin Jordan could be that H-back, fullback type person. Cade Stover, the rookie, at Ohio State, made the roster. Dalton Keenan, he went to IR. Now, here's where and to me, and it's funny. I want to show you this list, man, because I was sitting in the car dealer today waiting on the car to be serviced. I don't know if y'all can take a look at this. This was it's kind of hard to take a look at, but I had about 4 different highlighters going through. I was sort of, put everybody in I thought in blue. I would say, oh yeah, I would just, but then I got to a point, then I had all my other highlighters. I was sort of highlighting the situation. So, but when it got down to it, when I finally saw the final roster, heck, I felt pretty good about it. I felt, obviously I did not get everybody right. They don't need to be sitting here lying about it. I know I didn't get everybody, but I think I got about 85 or 90% of that roster, which is pretty good. Laramie Thompson, left tackle, Kenyon Green. Kudos to this young man. He on all this past season, he has reworked his body. I think he's reworked his whole attitude. Kenyon Green stud, Juice Shrugs, Shaq Mason going on his 10th season. To me, the Iron Man of the offensive line. And probably if they can keep this whole five together with Titus Howard at the other tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we can see how this team, the starting offensive lineman going to work. Behind them, we got Blake Fisher, Kenyon Green, Jared Patterson, and Nick Boca. Now, I see the first lady has made it in here. Let me pop up on, because I know and I appreciate her. She taking the time out. Let me get up on the stage here. Yep, there we go.
Hey, girl, how you doing, Kim?
Hey there, how are you guys?
Doing awesome.
We're doing great. I appreciate it. Thank you for jumping on. I know you are busy. I mean, your phone. Hey, Kim. Too bad you're not getting paid for all them folks wanting you to run all the shows and everything. But hey,
do what we can.
I'll tell you what, AD.
What's that?
She really dresses up this show. She makes us look even uglier than we were before she come on here.
Yeah, and for some odd reason, we got you in the middle between us and Kim, so I don't know how, but that's okay. Kim, we were just going down the roster. I had just asked Elwin, any surprises? Just going over the offensive roster. I'm gonna just piggyback to you. Anything that surprised you with found cuts or anything?
I think I was surprised that they kept as many running backs and didn't keep any fullbacks. Mm-hmm. That was probably a surprise. I know that they plan on using, obviously, Brevin Jordan, lining him up because he can play with his hand in the dirt. He can do different things, but that was probably a surprise. Mm-hmm. Unlike some, I was not as surprised about them cutting Noah Brown. And I think for me, it's really about availability. And clearly, he's more talented than some of the guys that made this roster. But he missed 7 games last year. He wasn't available, unfortunately, during the playoffs. He couldn't really participate in OTAs. He's missed pretty much all of camp. He was very productive in a couple of big games last year, but I think that may have been the deciding factor. We'll hear more when we get a chance to talk to Nick tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that may have been it a little bit for me. And then I guess the Case Keenum one was maybe that was a little surprising. Maybe this is trying to for Case Keenum. He will do now really full time what he's probably best at for this team is really provide some leadership and I guess coaching or direction, perhaps.
Are you saying he's auditioning for Johnson's quarterback coaching role? Because I'm pretty sure if the Texans make the progress like everybody's expecting, we're gonna probably lose both him, Bobby Slowick, and Johnson as a quarterback coach. So, what are you saying? Case might be auditioning for the quarterback coach at this team for next year. Somebody in the league?
He might be. I just think it was a way that they could keep him around. I mean, we know that we saw what he did last year, and he came in and he helped in the way he could, but just physically,
right?
His skills have. I would say it's fair to say have started to diminish. Mm-hmm. And so it's a way that he can still be involved. And the fact that they only have 2 quarterbacks may have been a surprise to me. And maybe they try to do something and bring ball back, especially with the new rules, which I'm not really sure what the Players Association, why they thought that was a productive way to move forward, limiting, quarterbacks, and you can only call them up 3 times in a year. I know that I get it, right? You don't want to let teams hide players there, but I'm not sure that was as helpful as they think it's going to be. So I guess those were some of the things for me. I will be looking for. Here's what I would be surprised if they don't do this: go out and find them a linebacker, right? Because they're thin there until Christian Harris gets back.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're thin there.
Yeah. They're thin. I guess here's the thing about, and I think this is something, D'Amico is looking at this, but I'm sort of going back to the Tony Dungy role. He looks for smaller linebackers, and I know way the offenses are being played in the NFL right now. You don't have the downhill running linebackers anymore. You got to have linebackers. You got to have like big size corners or big size safeties that have moved down to play linebacker. Because these linebackers now, you have to be able to run. Literally run. So that's not a linebacker what I call thumpers. And I'm calling thumpers in the like of the Jack. I'm thinking more like the Buckuses and all like that. There are no more of those big 245, 250-pound linebackers there. If they are, they're playing defensive end now. That's
well,
the way
and when I say
is.
I think they're light, I don't mean so much in size. I'm just talking about in terms of talent and depth.
Yeah.
I think that's a position that I'm looking at who they have. So they've got Aziz. They kept Delshon Phillips. They have Jake Hansen, Henry To'oTo'o, Neville Hewitt, and Jamal Hill. So, obviously you really want a healthy Christian Harris in that mix.
Right.
And listen, if heaven forbid Aziz ever goes down, they got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he is D'Amico Ryans on the field. That's D'Amico Ryans on the field, period. And the thing about it, Christian Harris, who I thought was really about to come into that mold, but he could. But you know what? What did you just say? Availability.
Yeah.
He hadn't been, because if you go back and look at the end of last season and to see his progress and the way he was moving, and all of a sudden now he's not available. To me, I think Aziz really is the glue right now that's going to hold this whole unit together. And I concur with you wholeheartedly. Heaven help us if he goes down, because when you look at, you're right. Who's going to be the guy that's going to step in there and understands that defense like the way he does, and being able to be D'Amico or Matt Burks on the field? I'm not seeing it.
Well, we've seen. Listen, I think Henry To'oTo'o has made a lot of progress.
Big strides.
It's been really helpful for him. And Neville Hewitt, we've seen him before. We know what he can do. I like what you see from Delshon Phillips, but still, and here's the other thing. I guess if you figure D'Amico can coach him up, right? Because he's able to get a little more. He can do more with less. And on that defensive side of the ball, and they may not be as worried about it. But yeah, I remember a conversation, guys, I had with Matt Burke one day after practice, and we were talking about, for me, it was the need for depth and why all of those other positions really, the other players matter because of the way that they rotate their guys in and out.
Right.
And so when I look at this roster, I was talking to somebody yesterday who said, I just don't think this roster is necessarily better than it was last year. Right. And I said, well, for me, what I say about this roster is they clearly have some talented players, but they're very top heavy. Right. Yeah. After the starters in each of those positions.
Well,
except for like the wide receiver room. But, they top heavy is the best way I can describe it.
Well, here's why. When you and I have talked during the course of camp, my first thing I said was I have a concern about the offensive line. The second, I had a concern about the defensive line, in particular, not the defensive ends, the two defensive tackles. And inside. To me, inside. And that's still a question mark. Mm-hmm. You got Mario Edmonds and Foley Fanakasi. And that's going to be your start. And I run. They got Khalil Davis, Tim Sell, Kirk Heinrich is going to be coming off of IR, and beside the fact that Danico Autry, he's got to serve his time in suspension, but he's go inside outside. I'm probably got more question marks now about the defense, particularly from the inside, from the interior tackles. Even though I thought training camp and everything else, I'm still waiting to see. All right, guys, can y'all make the stops that's needed to be made? Because if not, I keep going back to January 20th at M&T Bank Stadium and the way the Baltimore Ravens ran up and down the field on them. And they ran up and down the field on them in between the tackles. So that's still to be proven. Prove me wrong, please. Go ahead. I want to be proven wrong. I really do. But because I don't think we need to be getting into a scoring matchup. I don't think we need to be trying to figure out, okay, yes, I know CJ pulled some games out of his hat last season, but you know what? That last, how many times how many of those bullets that you used up last year that you probably need again this year? I mean, these are totally two different years. I mean, I understand that. And I realize that will CJ go throw 23 touchdowns? He could throw more. He could throw less. Will he have 4,000 yards? Maybe, maybe not. If we look at this receiving room, he's supposed to, taking everything in consideration. Will he throw just 5 interceptions? Well, let's face it, folks. I think, you know what? He was lucky on a few of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's lucky. He was lucky on a few of them. I think you're right. And the other thing is this team's going to play some really good quarterbacks first 6, 7, 8 weeks, of the year. And then we had this conversation on last week on Saturday. Schedule matters, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole different ball game. Those 3 games they play in 10 games with the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Ravens is everything. So they need to come out and they need to win early because it gets tougher for them down the stretch just in terms of the physicality of it beyond everything else. So that you mentioned AD about up front, the guys inside, they're going to face some really good quarterbacks and they're going to need to be able to, not be bull rushed up the middle, which is what they haven't always been able to do. So we'll see.
Well, here's the thing that AD and I've talked about this 2 or 3 times, Kim, that concerns me. I firmly believe this team will be better talent-wise than last year's team with growing, learning the offense, learning D'Amico's style, but playing a first-place schedule, and I'm sure y'all have seen it just like I have, the Texans have the 3rd toughest schedule of all 32 teams this year. They could be better as far as talent-wise, but the fact they're playing, like you mentioned, 3 extremely tough teams in 10 days, and all of the other first-place teams they're playing, they could be better, but what scares me, even though they're better, I'm scared if they have injuries, they could end up 8 and 9 this year, but yet still be a better team because of who they're having to play.
Yeah.
And they're not going to fool anybody this year. They got a target on their chest every game they go out this year. They slipped up on some people last year.
Yeah, I think all that's true. I think it's going to be interesting, and I'll be curious to see what Nick does between now and the start of the season in terms of what he does with this roster, like where he plugs in some stuff. Here's one I'll say. I was a little surprised, and I guess he would have been my low man kind of surprise was that British Brooks made this 53-man roster.
Special teams.
Here's what did it, I think, is the way he was able to just when he was able to check the defender, that physicality. I know that just makes coaches kind of giddy, right, when they see that. So that was probably very helpful for him. And, for all the people, I was thinking about this too, who said, how in the world did DP make this roster? I think it was clear when you talked to D'Amico, he didn't feel like the sample size was big enough. He carried the ball 8 times, granted only for 9 yards or whatever the number was in the preseason, but I think they aren't ready to give up on him yet. And, is he somebody they may try to trade? I don't know, but he can do some other things. Both sides of special teams he can perform. So, it's interesting, right? This is we all get the chance to be second quarterback general managers for about another couple of days.
Yep.
Well, I concur. It's yeah, when you look at the starters, you talking about Brooks as the running back. You know, somebody's got to play special team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, even the way the kickoff rules is constituted now, somebody's got to line up on that suicide line on both sides, 5 yards apart. And then I didn't mean to be. Yeah, yes, I did.
Well, I'll be honest with you, AD. I think that's where my boy Chris Boyd will come in. Chris is a great special teams player. He was in high school in Gilmer. He was at the University of Texas. He was in Minnesota. And he got more playing time in preseason this year than he got in the regular season most years in Minnesota. And I think D'Amico sees what he can contribute on special teams. And I really believe, and yeah, I'm a little prejudiced because he's a Gilmer Buckeye, but I really believe that Chris Boyd can be a force on special teams for the Texans this year.
Well, somebody's going to have to be. Like I said, I know. I think Kim and Elvin. I think from a DP standpoint, Damian. I think the fact because that ability for Damian to be able to be that strike, that home run strike on the kickoffs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there was a whole different kickoff formation this past season. But you know what? He very well, if he can just find some lightning. I think right now, what they're looking for players, and at certain times of the season, it's going to be it's a marathon. And if they can get lightning out of certain players at certain times of the season and year, so be it. Because you got Steven Sims here. He's got part of that special team.
Yeah,
I think you got to look at how they might utilize Tank Dale on this situation, and also looking here, they got Xavier Hudson listed down here as a special team starter. Even as a third player, as a third option, and Kim and I, we watched this, when they're working on kickoffs and everything. So I think in a real sense, very well, things could be, it's a lot of interesting pieces defensively. Obviously I want to see that front starting five on the offensive line come together and really play together. But you know what, my biggest concerns right now, I'm going back and I'm probably, and I don't want to be I said I told you so, but I still got to see the defensive tackles show up.
Right.
I got to see the defensive tackle show up. So that's. Go ahead, Elwin.
Well, I was going to say, one thing about the kickoffs. I've thought about this, and Lord, I've watched every preseason game I could watch. A week ago Saturday, I watched from 12 p.m. until 12:17 a.m. when the Cowboy game finished. Watched all 4 games. I've watched every game I could watch this year when I wasn't in Dallas. And, the thing I keep seeing and looking about that kickoff positioning, with the kickoff team standing there inside the 40 and the receiving team at the 35, there are some speedsters like a DP and some other guys. There's some speedsters that when they put them back there, you get past that first line, you're going to be gone. Because, in the old kickoff style, you had 2 or 3 levels. But now the way they're lining up, you got 1 level really. And if you busted through that 1 level, you're going to be gone down the sideline. So I really believe before this year's out, that kickoff is going to get what the NFL wants. And we're going to start seeing a number of kickoffs return for touchdowns.
Kim, I know you got to run. I appreciate it. Final comments before we let you just get, go out there and make $1 million?
Yeah, well, that's the case. Let me go now. I think it was interesting today, and I look forward to seeing what it really looks like on September the 8th when they go up to Indianapolis.
Yes,
and it should be fun. Didn't get a chance to talk about Elwin's Cowboys, but we'll do that another time. Hey, thank you guys. I'll see y'all soon.
All right. Well, we're gonna chat. Well, I'm gonna return the floor over to him. I'm gonna give him 60 seconds to be Jerry Jones.
Oh Lord,
I gotta admit that.
I don't
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye bye.
She alluded to that. Without any other comments on the Texans roster, because I do want it. I know I asked you about it because like I said, I see that CD he even gave CD Lamb the bank. Well, he gave him his part of it. He gave him a small part. Let me put it like this: if CD Lamb got what $130 million, Jerry Jones, the Cowboys are now the most expensive professional team. Period.
Over $10.2 billion now.
Over Man U. Man U at one while was the most expensive sport franchise. Yep. That Jerry Jones have now made 10 point whatever Forbes said that if they said it was worth 10.2 billion, it's probably knowing Jerry, he probably hid some money somewhere.
Probably. Well, the interesting thing about the Cowboys cuts, there were a couple of surprises to me in their cuts today. And I guess we'd all talked about it at the Cowboys game against the Chargers Saturday afternoon. Nobody felt like Peyton Hendershot was going to remain on the Cowboys team this year, tight end wise, because, they're loaded with tight ends.
Right.
But it did surprise me a little bit to see that they were able to trade Hendershot instead of cut him. They traded him to the Kansas City Chiefs. And Hendershot's got a big upside. I think if he has enough opportunity, and of course, we know Travis Kelce is going to be slowing down here pretty quick. I think Hendershot, I don't think he can ever be a Travis Kelce, but not many people can. He's right up there, with the top 2 or 3 tight ends in the history of the league. But I think Hendershot could end up being a big force for Kansas City. And I was glad to see that happen for him because Hendershot was a good guy. There were a couple of surprises to me in the Cowboys. Maybe not so much as who they cut, but who they kept. And we were told Saturday afternoon after the Cowboys game when Mike McCarthy came in for his post-game press conference, he pretty much told us Trey Lance was going to be on the team and they were going to keep 3 quarterbacks, and they did. And he said Trey Lance improved every time he was out there. He got better and better and better and better. Well, the guy had some really good points Saturday afternoon. He rushed for 90 yards and a touchdown. But he threw 5 interceptions.
I thought that was a misprint. I didn't see the game. No, I didn't. When I read that, I was like, wait a minute, 5?
Oh yeah. Well, no, we knew. I mean, it was obvious that they and 3 of the 5 he threw it right to the defender. One of them was a pick 6. 2 of them were in the end zone, and the last one of those 2 was Dallas was down the 26-19 final score. There was 7 seconds left before the snap. They were on about the 12-yard line, and he throws that interception on the last play of the game that would have allowed them to either tied with a point after or gone for 2 and maybe won it. 5 interceptions. And the first question McCarthy was asked, because he played the entire game, first question McCarthy was asked, your thoughts on Trey Lance? And he goes, look, guys, y'all are going to write what you're going to write. But he said, we've seen continued improvement in him. And then when Jerry Jones held his court that he holds outside the locker room after every game, he said point blank, Trey Lance will be on this roster. And early in the season, the feeling was that Cooper Rush would get cut because of what they invested in Trey Lance. I have my suspicions of what's going down. I really wonder if Dak is going to test free agency and leave if they don't get him under contract in the next few weeks. Now, Jerry said to us Saturday, he said, CD and Dak's discussions on their contracts are progressing. Of course, the odd man out here is Micah Parsons, and he's arguably the best of the 3, at least right up there, with CD.
Right.
Probably, honestly, better than Dak. But, Micah has no bargaining power to speak of. because they can throw him on the franchise tag the next 2 years. Right. They can't franchise tag Dak. They either got to work something out or he's gone. And, you know, all of these guys that think they know everything about everything just make me laugh. I got a news break notification today. Some guy saying Dak would not sign a new contract and the Cowboys would end up trading him to the New York Giants. Well, let me tell you what, that is about as probable as you being named the new head coach of the Houston Texans next year.
That ain't happening.
No, it's not happening. But another thing that kind of surprised me, I knew we said it was going to be running back by committee in Dallas this year. I felt like they'd keep 4 running backs. But I was a bit surprised. Deuce Vaughn just kicked rear the times he carried the ball the last 2 games. So I felt like he was definitely going to make it. I thought Rico Dowdle and Hunter Lepke were on the bubble. They both made the final roster. And in a way, what surprised me, Connor Snoop, it didn't surprise me. He didn't make the roster. But I really thought Malik Davis would make it at running back with him. But I'm sure you heard about it. Last night, they flew Dalvin Cook out, and they met with the Cowboys today. Nothing's come out of it yet, but the rumor is it's highly likely that they're going to sign Dalvin Cook. If they sign Dalvin Cook, I think probably at that point, Rico Dowdle is probably going to be gone. And if they sign Dalvin Cook, he will become RB1, and then the other 3 guys, Zeke and the other 2 guys left, will back him up.
Elwin, I got a question, and I'm not that familiar with the other running backs. How much does Zeke still have in the tank?
Based on what I saw of the OTA practice that I went up to, of course, as you know, they were in Oxnard until last Thursday afternoon.
Right.
So I watched one practice, and that was the last OTA day. Honestly, maybe 25%. He doesn't have a lot left in the tank. Now, can he be effective? Yes. But in my opinion, he's a 1 or 2 down back per series. He can't be the guy to carry the load. Now, I think if they don't sign Dalvin Cook, but I really feel like they're probably going to, but if they don't, he is going to go in officially in the depth roster as the number 1 running back. But he can't carry the load play after play after play and carry the ball 30 times a year anymore.
Okay, so all right, let me play devil's advocate here for a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, you signed Dalvin Cook. Zeke, I mean, obviously he's a shell of himself. The other 2 kids, you talking about running back by committee. I mean, can Mike McCarthy have that type of imagination? I don't see Andy Reid and Mike McCarthy in working magic and trying to create different options and giving Dak something to go. Yeah, you got CeeDee Lamb back. That's fine and dandy. My question, not CeeDee Lamb hadn't been in camp all year. Okay,
no,
he hadn't. I mean, numb, and I'm not wishing this, but generally, when players have not even had one training camp, that's when the soft tissue issues can come up.
Well, McCarthy was asked about that Saturday, and they said, "Are you worried that you got him in too late?" He goes, "Man, I have seen his video of his workouts." He said he worked out twice as much as our team did and twice as much as he would have gotten work-wise if he would have been in camp. He said, now, obviously, he's got to learn the intricacies and the changes. He said, like we do every year, we've made some minor changes in plays. He's going to have a few little different route things he's going to have to learn and kind of mesh into those intricacies. But he said, I'm not worried in the least about him being injured because he worked twice as hard as what we worked. I mean, he seemed very confident about that. Now, here's what else he said. Somebody said, yeah, but, 8th of September, you're going to Cleveland to play the Browns. And he said, yes, but we can slowly work him in next week since there isn't a game, which, of course, talking about this week now.
Right.
And he said, we will slowly ramp him up. And he said, we are 100% confident when it comes to kickoff on September 8th in Cleveland, he will be the CD Lamb we saw every game last year. So, you know, the question is that really what we're going to see? Or is McCarthy banking his career on passing game? And I think without a doubt, even if this running back by committee works, even if they get Dalvin Cook, with what they've got at wide receiver, the Cowboys are going to be a pass-heavy team. I don't think they're going to try to run the ball. I'm going to say probably no more than 75% of what most of the teams are going to run it this year. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. All right, Parsons. Is Parsons going? I mean, apparently Parsons is the wild card on the defense. I saw they're going to have him moving around, probably going to the Mike position as opposed to putting his hand back in the dirt. Is that turning Michael Parsons loose, or is you handicapping Michael Parsons?
I think honestly, it's turning him loose, but obviously they've got to do a lot of tweaking now because Deron Bland's foot injury. They're saying he's going to be out 6 weeks now.
Whoa!
They did put him on reserve injured, designated for return.
Right. Okay.
We found out Saturday he'll be out 6 weeks. Now, what they did do last night, no, not last night, a couple of days ago, that really excited me. We were needing some help at nose tackle. We needed a nose tackle. And we went out and signed Linville Joseph. And he is going to be a huge addition to that defense, I think.
Okay. Well, I guess Mike McCarthy, don't have an issue with Bill Belichick sitting there watching over his shoulder, huh?
Yeah.
Just saying. I said that tongue in cheek. I'm sorry. That was tongue in cheek, Cowboy.
Well, that is the rumor going around that if McCarthy doesn't win at least 2 playoff games and or get to the championship game, he's out. And that is the big rumor floating around in the press box in Dallas is Belichick wants the job. Now, here's something else funny you probably hadn't heard. You know Clarence Hill, that was at Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
Right. Yeah, he retired from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
Right, but he's got a new gig. He started a new gig Sunday.
Okay.
He interviewed Jerry. And I guess since, starting this new gig, he thought, man, I need something with power. And I love Clarence to death. Man, Clarence is awesome. And his daughter is one of the most intelligent young ladies I've ever seen. But Clarence decided to play devil's advocate. And he sat down with Jerry and asked him point blank, Jerry, are you thinking about considering what's happened these last 3 years and considering we hadn't been in a championship game in 25 years, are you considering, since you're getting on up there in age, dropping or stepping down from the general manager spot and hiring a general manager? And in Jerry's answer, I saw the script of it, and of course it had it bleeped out. Jerry dropped 5 F-bombs talking about why he was not going to step down.
Just 5? That's all? Just 5?
Well, there were some other expletives, but 5 F-bombs. And his comment was, I know I've made a mistake here and there. However, nobody understands this team. Nobody has a better fingertip on the pulse of this team than I do. Therefore, nobody else can come in and do it like I do. And so Clarence asked him, well, what about Stephen? What about some of your family? And he said, look, my kids are doing a great job in the positions they're in, but the only way even any of my family gets this GM position is if I'm dead. So interpreted, we're going to keep spiraling downhill. It is what it is.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna keep my little 2 cents to myself because you know what, Jerry? Like you said, Parcells wanted to buy the groceries, but Jerry had to pay for it. That wasn't gonna work.
Nope.
And so we knew that wasn't gonna work. And if Bella, I don't know if Belichick and Belichick and Jerry could get along together.
Well, let me tell you the only, and I will make a huge capital letter, bold print. The only reason I think it might is Bill is so chapped and so pissed off about how he exited New England. He wants to be back in coaching so bad. He does not like what he's doing now because he wants to be on that field coaching. He wants to do it so bad. I can see him coming in for 3 or 4 years and giving it a shot. But I'll be honest. I like Bill Belichick. But let's just face the truth. You saw what happened to the Patriots when Bill Belichick. When Tom Brady left.
Yep.
Bill Belichick was never the cog that made that wheel turn. It was Tom Brady.
Well, you know what? I concur, but you know what? There were they had the right mixtures of players coming in and out. And bought it because let's face it, I can remember emphatically a couple of those Super Bowls that Tom Brady's gonna get that's been credited for as a team. The defense won it.
Absolutely.
Brady had a horrible Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, he's considered the GOAT. No, the GOAT as far as the NFL.
That's true.
I mean, everybody wants to start, and I'm gonna say this, and I'll let it go until somebody shows me 12 championships. The late William Felton Russell. You show me those championships like him in this current day under the situation and circumstances, we can sit down and have a reasonable conversation. But until then, hey, kick sand. Go ahead, Elvin.
Yeah. I was going to say, all these rumors start floating around. I saw one yesterday, and I laughed so hard I nearly passed out.
You sure you hadn't stopped at one of your favorite eating places?
Do what?
You sure you hadn't stopped at one of your favorite eating barbecue places?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
But this one guy, and I'm not going to call his name, a lot of people would know him. He said McCarthy isn't going to get it done. McCarthy will be fired. Bill Belichick will not be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. And he is projecting the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is going to be Troy Aikman.
And on that note, Elvin, I think we're just
it's time to hang it up after that.
Okay, somebody, wherever you were, stay away from the painting fluid. Stay away from all the inhalants. You stay away from the Pam and all the other stuff. You didn't have your head in the oven too long. Elvin, as we get ready to wrap it up, man, final points. I mean, this obviously, again, as I stated at the onset, this is just the 53 mandated the cut down data as the NFL mandated for all the league. I never said this is the final roster. There's no way you can call this the final roster. This is just a mandated cut down day because between now and the time that the Houston Texans, probably a week from tomorrow and coming in over the holidays because they're going to be off from Thursday through Sunday. They'll meet back up Monday, and then they'll start their regular season process, game day processing. Until then, this roster is going to make some changes. I will guarantee you that.
Oh, I agree. And we talked about it a little while ago. It wouldn't surprise me for one more year. It wouldn't surprise me to see Case Keenum come back on that practice squad.
You know what? I'm gonna get through this year.
I agree.
I'm gonna get through this year because we'll see. Final points, and then we wrap it up, and then we'll get ready to go ahead and tell folks goodbye. Hopefully, we'll get back next week for the season. We'll get you on. I'm gonna bring in the eclectic group. we'll probably start. We'll just try to declare division winners, conference championship, see how good we are. And, some of us might want to go down to go over to Louisiana there, go somewhere and put some money down and see where we are. But anyway, final points from you, man.
Well, I agree with you on that about the prognostication. That'll be fun. I mean, last year my Gilmer Buckeyes were 3-3, and everybody in this town was writing them off. And I said they're going to go 13-3 and win the state championship, and we did. So I've got some. I'll have some surprises for you next week.
All right.
I will say this: we hadn't discussed this, but my final thoughts is it is going to be a huge game for both teams when the Texans come to AT&T Stadium to play for the Cowboys. That's going to be a big, big game because it's close to the middle of the season, and it literally could shift whoever the winning team is in the right direction, and the other one could, kind of take a chip off their shoulders. I'm going to go on and throw a little taste out for you about our prognostication right now. I think that Cowboys-Texans game is going to be so close, it might even go into OT.
Yeah, nice Sunday night game? Yeah, I can see that. Nice, good Sunday night game. Yeah.
Now you are going to come for that game, aren't you?
That's if the good Lord willing and everything, I plan on being there, young. And I'll plan on and Jerry let me sit up in the suite and do the corner from his suite. I sure would.
Hey, you could do that, and I'll tell you what, since that's a Sunday night game, I normally don't spend the night afterwards. But since that's a Sunday night game, I might just give me the hotel and I might just stay up there and do it in the press box with you after.
Okay. Hey, that's my right now, and that's really my plan. I've already started looking down the road that, because doing the corner from AT&T Stadium, depending on however the outcome of the game, we just do it right from Jerry World up there.
Yep.
But anyway, hey man, appreciate it. Hey,
appreciate you having me on.
All right, I'll catch you down the road there, okay?
All right, brother. Have a great week.
Will do.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, Elwin, I appreciate it. Hey, have a good one. Folks, appreciate it. Thank you for just chiming in. I appreciate Kim Davis for jumping on a little bit. Our own personal opinions about the roster. As I stated, the roster as it's constituted now won't even be the same roster next week. We'll probably find out when we meet with Nick Casario tomorrow, and for their thought process and what they're looking at, because you still got some items that can change. Other than that, hey, thank you. If you have not subscribed to the AdMax Corner on YouTube channel, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching me on the Houston Roundball channel, hit that subscribe button and then jump over and hit the subscribe button again on the other side. We appreciate the audience, want the listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Have a good time. Thank you for chiming in. And we are out.